What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Chuds BBQ. My name is Bradley Robinson, and today I'm going to show you how I made these beautiful, tender, fatty, fluffy, delicious beef fat flour tortillas. Coming up! When I was a hot young 22-year-old, old Cockburn and I decided it was time to leave our hometown in New England and venture down to sunny Austin, Texas. Upon landing, it didn't take long before we found ourselves stumbling home from dirty 6th Street in desperate need of some sustenance. We ended up at a small taco truck where we got some bacon, egg, and cheese tacos, not thinking much of it, but it was truly an amazing bite. Not because of the bacon or the egg or the cheese, but because that was my first time experiencing a nice, warm, freshly pressed flour tortilla. Before that, my definition of a tortilla was something you get at the grocery store or something you find on a sandwich wrap. Nothing special. But there really is something magic about a freshly made flour tortilla. And that's what we're going to make today, and it is going to be delicious. As you may or may not have noticed, I am not of Hispanic descent. So, at no point in this video am I claiming this to be authentic, traditional, or even the correct way of making tortillas. That being said, this is my version. I wanted to create something that was quick and easy for a quick breakfast taco or a weeknight dinner with as little mess as possible. So, to get started, we're gonna get our food processor, to which we are going to add 450 grams of bread flour. I tried other flours, all-purpose works pretty well, but I found the bread flour's got a little bit more gluten to it, which helps when stretching them really nice and thin without them breaking apart too much on you. Next, we're going to go in with about 15 grams of kosher salt. Bit more salt than your traditional tortilla recipe, but hey, I'm all about building those layers of flavor. Then we're going to go in with about 15 grams of baking powder. Not a necessary ingredient, but if you like them nice and fluffy, that'll kind of puff up on the griddle, that's the way to go about it. We're simply going to mix these together real quick. If I remember to plug it in first. Dumbass. Now that everything is all mixed up dry ingredient wise, we are going to add in our fat, and this is some beef tallow. Typically you're going to see pork fat, butter, shortening, that kind of stuff. Today, of course, we're going with some beef tallow. And as you can see, this isn't quite melted and isn't quite firm, right in the middle, which is exactly where you want it to be. That's 130 grams of tallow going in. And I'll have a link in the description for where I got this beef tallow, as well as all the exact ingredients for this recipe. Much like a pie dough, we're just going to pulse this together until it resembles the consistency of coarse sand. And that's exactly what we're looking for, folks. Nice and crumbly. Now we're going to pour in some hot water. So in this kettle here, I have 250 grams of water measured out, and we are simply going to get this hot. Not too hot, not boiling or anything like that. Just around, I don't know, 90, 100 degrees, something like that. And that's just going to help the fat melt and everything hydrate and come together real nicely. And we're just going to stream this right on in. These gooseneck kettles come in real handy for this kind of thing. And it's all going to come together. Once it starts pulling away from the sides, we're going to know it's good. But this is also going to knead the dough for us. Just let it run for a little bit. Should be good. The sides are pulling away clean. So now what we're going to do is let this rest, and we're not even going to take it out. Traditionally, this would be made in a bowl on the table. Then we'd wrap it up in plastic and let it rest for a good little bit. But because I'm trying to make this recipe as quick and easy as possible, we're just going to let it rest in here in this nice moist environment for a good 30 minutes or so. And resting your dough is incredibly important because during the kneading process in there, it's formed a lot of gluten, which is very elastic, much like a rubber band. So by letting it rest for a good 30 minutes, everything's going to relax and it's going to make everything press out nice and evenly. If you're ever making tortillas and you roll them out and they want to squeeze back together, that's because the gluten is a little too tight. So we're going to leave it in here, come back in about 30 minutes. 30 minutes later, this dough is fully rested. Let's see how it came out. Boop. If your dough is a little too wet, you can throw some flour down, although you don't want to put too much down because we're kind of going to use the tautness of the dough on this table to create a little friction to help us get a nice smooth ball. But this is looking nice and smooth, nice and soft. Beautiful. So now it's time to portion these into individual tortillas. And this is where you really decide the size of your end result tortillas. For me, we're gonna go classic with a pretty normal average size, which works out to be about 50 grams. And you don't have to measure these out, but if you want them all to be perfect and the same size, I highly recommend it, especially if you're gonna make a big batch of these and stack them up and keep them for a while. It's really nice if they're all the same size. Now what we're gonna do is make sure that they're all nice and smooth. So we're simply just gonna tuck all of the ends underneath each other and just make sure the top is nice and smooth. Put all the seams on the bottom. We're gonna put them down, and then we're gonna go around with our hand just like this and use the friction of the table just to make sure they're nice and smooth, nice and round. This takes a little bit of technique, but we're just using the curvature of our thumb and finger here to make sure it's a nice tight little ball. And you can really see the difference between the unrolled and the nicely rolled. Nice and plump. I haven't seen too many people use a food processor to make tortilla dough, so I'm sorry if that's a blasphemous move, but again, this is kind of my version of quick and easy. Notice how many dishes I've made so far. Just the one food processor, and the dough pulled away clean, so it should be pretty easy. Now that these dough balls are made, we're gonna bust out this nice little damp kitchen towel, and that's just gonna ensure that nothing oxidizes or gets a weird skin on the outside, because we're gonna let these rest for another 10, 15 or so, just because we just worked them a lot, and we wanna let that gluten relax. So we're gonna just put these under here and let them chill out for just a little bit longer. While we wait for these dough balls to rest just a little bit, it's time to talk about how to turn these dough balls into tortillas. First thing you could do would be to grab a rolling pin and just roll them out. I always had problems keeping them consistent, keeping them round, keeping them nice and thin. So your next best bet would be to get a tortilla press. Chef John has a really great video on how to use one of those cast iron tortilla presses using a plastic bag to make sure nothing sticks together. But I always had a problem with the tortilla shrinking up in between the tortilla and the cast iron pan. So then I looked it up online to see how the professional shops are getting their tortillas to come out so consistent and perfectly. And it turns out they use these big automated machines that have heated presses. And that made a lot of sense to me, to cook it while you press it, to make sure everything stays in the same shape and doesn't shrink back up on you. But they don't make anything like that for the home kitchen. But luckily, I've got a metal shop in the garage. That'll do. Very nice. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to the Chud Tortilla Press. Not gonna lie, I totally made this like 3 weeks ago and I just did all that cutting just for show. But if you wanna see a real video on how to make one of these, let me know in the comments below and I'll gladly do that. Although I'll bet you can pretty much get the basic concept here by looking at it. I stripped off all the mill scale and seasoned it up really well with oil, just like a cast iron pan. So this thing is non-stick, heavy duty, ready to go. As you can see, I left the sides open so the heat can come through, and it's off the burner a bit so it doesn't smother the flame at all. But yeah, this is my little stovetop burner tortilla press. Gotta give a big shout out to Flores Tortillas. Michael Wyan, he's up in Whitney, Texas in the Waco area making a lot of beef fat tortillas, and he recently had a wood-powered tortilla press made very similar to this, and that's what inspired me to make my own little chuddy stovetop version. So shout out to them. Hit Flores Tortillas up at florestortillas.com and get yourself some beautiful beef fat tortillas. Burner is lit. We're gonna get this thing nice and screaming hot, and then we are gonna get our tortillas a-pressing. This thing is nice and toasty. We've also got this handy dandy tortilla warmer that we're gonna throw all of our tortillas in to make sure nothing dries out. We're gonna give this a little spray, make sure everything is nice and non-stick. We're simply gonna take our cute little dough ball here, right in the middle. Wait for the scream. I call that the taco scream. Doesn't get any better than that, folks. Oh my God. On this first cook, I like to keep them pretty blonde. So I'm gonna pull that one off right now. That way when we heat them up for the actual taco making, we can get a little more color on them. But you can see it's puffing up real nice. Smells good. But into the warmer it goes. Taco squeal. Beautiful. Oh. Can we get full puff? Oh, we're getting close. Not quite. I'd eat that. Come on. Ow! Cockburn, you want to make a tortilla?
Excuse me.
Ooh. Have you ever made tortillas before?
This is my first time actually right now.
Woo!
That's hot.
Potatoes in. Shout out to Peppermate. Thanks for sending me this pepper grinder, guys. This thing is awesome. Little bit of cheese. Yeah, a little more cheese never hurt anybody. It's taco time. Get your tortilla nice and hot. That with a little hot sauce, creamy avocado sauce, little cotija. Throw a little avocado on there, a little cilantro. Beautiful, perfect breakfast taco. Ooh, Cockburn! Come get a taco, buddy.
Yes, I will. Cheers.
Doink.
Now that's a good tortilla. It reminds me of that first night you and I had in Austin, Texas. We indulged in our first handmade tortillas.
How do these compare?
It brings me right back. Yeah. You remember a lot of that night?
Honestly, no.
The only thing I remember was a lot of margaritas.
Cheers.
Cheers, dude.
Thank you, sir. Oh yeah, politeness. I haven't been to a bar in a while.
Yeah, I know. You're for some reason supposed to do the little slam down here, but
That's a damn good margarita.
yeah, you know, the margarita is the most ordered drink in any bar in the U.S. Everyone seems to screw it up,
Just like the
but it's
chicken
so
wing.
simple. Have a decent tequila, decent triple sec, and most importantly, fresh squeezed lime.
Gotta have it, gotta have it.
Yeah, there's no excuse.
Well, thank
Pairs
you very
well
much.
with a taco too.
Yeah, right? It is a really good margarita, though. It's such a simple thing, and people seem to just overcomplicate it whenever they can. That was what, 3 ingredients plus ice?
Yeah, and like just like cooking in terms of having those basic ideas of how to make something right, I think a lot of people skip out on the fresh juice. It's that easy and it makes it that much better. Taco. I will say that little hint of beef fat actually does come through in the tortilla, interestingly enough. I wouldn't have thought about it, hence why I come to you to get free tacos.
And I come to you to get free margaritas. Is this why we're buds?
It might be a match made in heaven.
Alright, y'all, and that is it. That is my version of how to make homemade beef fat flour tortillas. Out of everything I've made, I highly recommend giving this one a try. There's no better way to spice up your breakfast, your weeknight dinner, or to impress the significant other than letting them know that you put in the extra effort to make some homemade flour tortillas to serve them some beautiful breakfast tacos on. I highly recommend it. That being said, keep an eye on ChudsBBQ.com for when I will be releasing this tortilla press and other versions of it and all of that good stuff. That's also where you'll find all the information about every pit I make, weight lists, pricing, dimensions, all of that good stuff. As always, I'll have links in the description for everything I used in this video and every other video, as well as exact recipes for the tortilla and for the cocktail and everything else. If you enjoyed the cocktail from Cockburn, let me know in the comments below. Unfortunately, I will not be doing any shipping on the Chud pits or the tortilla press anytime soon, but if you want to support me, you can just click that subscribe button. That's the best way to go about doing that. But head over to Chuds BBQ on Instagram. Let me know what y'all are cooking. If you give this a try, please tag me. I love to see what y'all are cooking. Let me know in the comments below what you want to see me cook next. And until the next time I see you, please go cook something outside. Peace!